The Power of Black Coffee. How Your Circulation Changes with a Sugar-Free Morning Brew, 2026 study. A recent study looked at over 40,000 adults and found something that goes against what many doctors have told us for years. Men who drink coffee in the morning have a 31% lower risk of cardiovascular death. That's a significant 31% reduction. However, there's a crucial condition, a detail that changes everything. It's not just any coffee. It's not the coffee with 2 spoonfuls of sugar, nor the one with syrup, or the instant machine coffee with added sweeteners. It is plain black coffee with absolutely no sugar. What this coffee does to your blood vessels every morning at a molecular level is something science has been studying for years, and we can now explain it clearly. If you're over 50 and concerned about your circulation, the next few minutes could completely alter how you start each day. Let's be honest, you wake up in the morning and your feet are cold, as if the blood hasn't quite reached them during the night. You climb a flight of stairs and your legs feel heavy, like you're dragging cement. Sometimes your fingers go numb while you're reading the newspaper or holding your phone for too long, and in intimate moments, well, things just don't respond the way they used to, and you'd rather not talk about it. And every morning, without thinking, you prepare your coffee and add 1, 2, perhaps even 3 teaspoons of sugar. You've been doing this for 30 years. You never considered that this automatic gesture could be silently sabotaging your arteries. You might even think, a little sugar won't hurt, it's just 1 teaspoon. Or worse, you might believe, coffee is bad for my focus, I should just quit. Both of these ideas are inaccurate and keep you trapped in habits that unknowingly damage your circulation. I am Carmen Navarro. For over 20 years, I've been researching and sharing scientific studies on men's health to help men make informed decisions. What I've observed time and again is that men over 50 often seek complicated solutions for their circulation. They look at expensive supplements, extreme diets, and medications with side effects, when sometimes the most powerful change lies in something they already do every morning, their cup of coffee. They just need to do it the right way. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what happens in your body when you drink black coffee without sugar. Hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, so you can understand with awareness and without fear. Because this simple decision can make the difference between arteries that harden and a circulatory system that protects itself with every sip. But first, you need to understand how your circulation works, and for that, I'm going to use an image you won't forget. Imagine your circulatory system is like the irrigation system of a vast garden. Your arteries are the main pipes, your arterioles are the finer hoses, and your capillaries are the micro sprinklers that deliver water, or in this case, blood, to every last flower, every corner of the garden. When this system functions well, every part of your body receives oxygen, nutrients, and warmth. Your feet are warm, your muscles respond, your brain thinks clearly, and your sexual function remains active. All of this depends on a microscopic layer lining the inside of every blood vessel. It's called the endothelium. The endothelium produces a molecule called nitric oxide. Think of nitric oxide as the lubricant for your irrigation system. It's the substance that relaxes your arterial walls, keeps them flexible, and allows blood to flow without resistance. Research published in journals like Nutritional Biochemistry indicates that the chlorogenic acid in coffee, its most abundant polyphenol, stimulates the production of nitric oxide in endothelial cells. After the age of 50, your natural nitric oxide production tends to decrease. Your arterial walls become stiffer, the irrigation system starts to lose pressure, the hoses harden, and the sprinklers get clogged. This is a natural process, but it can be dramatically accelerated or slowed down depending on what you put into your body each morning. Black coffee without sugar contains over 1,000 bioactive compounds, but 2 of them are particularly relevant to your circulation: caffeine and chlorogenic acid. What they do in your body, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, is what we're going to explore now. And to understand it, we'll follow the exact timeline from your very first sip. Now, I propose something very simple. Try drinking your coffee without sugar for 14 days. Just 14 days. no exceptions. And when you're done, come back here and tell me what you noticed. More energy, less bloating, lighter legs. I want to read it. Write it in the comments. I'll be there. Now, let's move on to the first phase. What happens in the first few hours after your black coffee? What I call the first wave. Within the first 30 to 120 minutes after drinking black coffee, caffeine reaches its peak in your blood. It blocks adenosine receptors, a substance that normally induces relaxation and sleepiness, and this activates the sympathetic nervous system. The immediate result is a slight, transient increase in blood pressure between 3 and 7 millimeter of mercury. This is where many men get worried. They say, see, coffee raises blood pressure. But that's only half the story, because while caffeine causes that small blood pressure increase, the chlorogenic acid, which makes up 80% of coffee's polyphenols, begins a silent job. Research on human endothelial cells indicates that chlorogenic acid activates the enzyme endothelial nitric oxide synthase, increasing nitric oxide production. A study with healthy men showed that coffee polyphenol metabolites significantly improved brachial artery dilation 2 hours after consumption, increasing nitric oxide metabolite levels in the blood. And what do you feel at that moment? Mental alertness, more energy, perhaps a sudden urge to go to the bathroom. What you don't feel, but what is happening, is that your blood vessels are receiving a molecular signal of protection. There's a fact that sums it up well. A randomized clinical trial published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that 400 milligrams of chlorogenic acid, equivalent to 2 cups of coffee, reduced systolic pressure by 2.41 millimeters of mercury and diastolic pressure by 1.53 millimeters. The key is this: that hypotensive effect occurred after the transient caffeine peak as a beneficial compensatory effect. Your body first receives a small boost and then a protective relaxation. But here's where everything changes. If that same coffee contains 10 grams of sugar, about 2 teaspoons, your blood glucose spikes dramatically. Research published in Circulation from the American Heart Association describes how glucose spikes directly interfere with the endothelium's ability to dilate blood vessels. In other words, the sugar negates the benefit that chlorogenic acid just generated. It's like watering the garden and at the same time clogging the sprinklers with lime. The water comes out, but it doesn't reach where it needs to go. And this is just what happens in the first few hours, but the body doesn't stop. In the following days, the accumulation begins to manifest in a way you'll recognize. Let's talk about what I call the silent cleaning. What happens in the first few days when you eliminate sugar from your coffee? When you stick to black coffee without sugar for a week, the effects begin to accumulate. Each morning, chlorogenic acid does its work on the eNOS enzyme without the sugar sabotaging it. Coffee polyphenols begin to reduce inflammatory markers in the arterial wall. A meta-analysis that included randomized clinical trials found that sustained consumption of chlorogenic acid at an average dose of 300 milligrams per day led to a significant increase of 2.52 percentage points in flow-mediated dilation of the brachial artery. That's a validated marker of endothelial function and cardiovascular risk. In simple terms, your arteries become measurably more flexible within a week. But there's something most people overlook. Advanced glycation end products, known as AGEs, don't form overnight. They accumulate. Every spoonful of sugar contributes to a reaction where sugar binds to the proteins in your blood vessels, hardening them as if you were adding layers of rigid varnish. According to research from the American Heart Association, approximately 10% of ingested AGEs enter the circulation, and only about a third are excreted within 3 days. By eliminating sugar from your coffee, you reduce one of the most frequent inputs for this glycation process. Think about it. If you drink 3 coffees a day with sugar, that's over 1,000 unnecessary glucose loads per year directly into your bloodstream. For the first 2 or 3 days, the coffee might taste bitter to you. This is completely normal. Your palate is recalibrating after years of sugar. By day 5 or 6, many men report starting to perceive nuances in the coffee they never noticed before. You might detect notes of cocoa, a hint of nuts, the real flavor of the bean that sugar had been masking for decades. You'll also likely experience less abdominal bloating and a slight improvement in sleep quality as the absence of nocturnal glucose spikes reduces awakenings. Miguel, a 61-year-old civil servant in Seville, experienced this exactly. For 35 years, he drank coffee with sugar 3 times a day, always with 2 generous teaspoons. For him, it was a sacred ritual. Without sugar, it's not coffee, it's dirty water, he used to say. At 58, he started noticing his legs feeling heavy when climbing the stairs at the town hall. At 60, his doctor told him his blood pressure was borderline, 138/88, and suggested he reduce his coffee intake. Miguel interpreted this as eliminating coffee altogether and quit for 2 months. He felt exhausted, in a worse mood, and his blood pressure didn't go down. It was his son-in-law, who was studying nutrition, who told him, "Miguel, the problem isn't the coffee, it's the sugar you put in it." He showed him studies. Miguel was skeptical, but decided to try an experiment. 2 weeks of black coffee without sugar. "If it tastes horrible, I'll go back to sugar," he said. The first 3 days were difficult. By the 4th day, it didn't seem so bitter anymore. He started noticing a cocoa flavor in his usual coffee that he had never perceived before. The information you are receiving is educational and does not substitute medical advice. If your symptoms persist, speak with a healthcare professional, and when that silent cleaning accumulates over weeks, that's when the story gets truly interesting. Welcome to what I call recalibration. After several weeks of drinking black coffee without sugar, multiple body systems begin to respond in a coordinated manner. Let's talk first about circulation and blood pressure. Cohort studies that analyzed over 40,000 adults found that moderate coffee consumers, drinking 2 to 3 cups daily, show a significant association with a lower risk of cardiovascular mortality. The protection is attributed to a combination of anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and endothelial function improving effects. One statistic deserves attention. Studies with over 5,000 participants indicated that consuming 4 cups of coffee a day is associated with a 12% reduction in stroke risk. Now, insulin sensitivity. Without added sugar, your body doesn't need to produce insulin spikes with every cup of coffee. The chlorogenic acids in coffee inhibit hepatic glucose 6-phosphatase, which contributes to better blood sugar regulation. Research published in G-Science consistently associates coffee consumption with a lower risk of type 2 diabetes, showing a dose-response relationship. This is more important for your circulation than you might imagine, because insulin resistance is one of the main drivers of vascular damage after 50. And there's an aspect few people know about: the gut microbiome. Research from 2024 identified a specific bacterium, Akkermansia mucinifila, that thrives with coffee consumption. Coffee drinkers have 4 to 8 times higher levels of this beneficial bacterium. Coffee polyphenols act as prebiotics, feeding beneficial gut flora, but this effect is enhanced when coffee is consumed without sugar, as sugar favors the growth of inflammatory bacteria at the expense of protective ones. And what does the gut have to do with circulation? Everything. Chronic gut inflammation, fueled by excess sugar, increases intestinal permeability. This allows bacterial toxins to enter the bloodstream and damage the vascular endothelium. It's a connection that science has extensively documented in recent years. Your gut and your arteries are more connected than you ever imagined. By weeks 4 to 6, men who have eliminated sugar from their coffee and maintain 2 to 3 cups of black coffee daily often report a noticeable improvement in sustained energy throughout the day without the sugar-induced ups and downs, and a general feeling of lightness in their legs. And when we talk about months, even years, the story becomes even more powerful. We enter what I call accumulated protection. This is where black coffee without sugar becomes what some researchers call a functional food for the cardiovascular system. The study by Shaw and collaborators, published in 2025 in Nutrition, Metabolism, and Cardiovascular Diseases, provides compelling evidence that moderate coffee consumption of 1 to 3 cups per day is associated with a significant reduction in both overall and cardiovascular mortality, even in individuals with pre-existing cardiovascular disease. The proposed mechanisms include anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects, and direct improvement of endothelial function. A study from Queen Mary University of London involving 8,412 participants undergoing cardiac MRIs and pulse wave velocity tests confirmed that coffee consumption, even in high amounts, is not associated with increased arterial stiffness when confounding factors like age, smoking, and weight are adjusted for. The definitive meta-analysis included 36 studies with nearly 1.3 million participants and over 36,000 cases of cardiovascular disease. It found a non-linear U-shaped relationship. The maximum benefit is observed with moderate consumption, a median of 3.5 cups per day, with a 15% reduction in cardiovascular risk. But there's something you need to know. The ages that accumulate over years of sugary coffee cause irreversible modifications to vascular proteins. Research from Cornell University describes how glycation and glycoxidation modifications become permanent in proteins, altering their structure and function. That's why it's so important to act now. The sooner you stop adding sugar to your coffee, the less accumulated damage your blood vessels will have to repair. And here's another fact that applies directly to you. Men with stable testosterone levels, as is often the case after 50, metabolize caffeine more consistently. Research indicates that the limited interaction of testosterone with the enzyme CYP1A2 allows the cardiovascular effects of coffee, such as improved endothelial function and reduced arterial stiffness, to remain relatively uniform in men over the decades. In other words, your body is poised to benefit from coffee at this age. You just need to stop sabotaging it with sugar. But the good news, and this is the part I want you to take away, is that recovery is possible, and it starts sooner than you think. Days 1 to 3, your palate protests. Coffee tastes bitter. You might experience mild headaches if you're also reducing sugar elsewhere. This is normal. Your brain is detoxifying from glucose spikes. Days 4 to 7, the bitterness subsides. You start noticing flavors in your coffee you didn't perceive before. Abdominal bloating reduces, and your energy stabilizes, with fewer highs and lows throughout the day. Weeks 2 to 4, endothelial function begins to improve measurably. Research indicates a 2.52 percentage point increase in vascular dilation with sustained chlorogenic acid consumption. Many men report that their hands and feet are warmer in the morning. Weeks 4 to 8, insulin sensitivity improves, inflammatory markers begin to decline, and energy during exercise increases because your blood vessels respond better to muscle oxygen demand. Months 3 to 6, long-term cardiovascular benefits consolidate. Age production significantly decreases, and your gut microbiome rebalances. Many men report improvements in sleep quality, mental clarity, and an effect few mention aloud: better circulatory response in sexual function. What takes longer is the reversal of already formed ages. Damaged proteins from glycation are gradually replaced, but that process can take months to years. That's why the key isn't instant perfection, it's daily consistency. 3 months after making the change, Miguel went for his medical checkup. His blood pressure was 128/82. His doctor asked him what had changed. "I just removed the sugar from my coffee," Miguel replied, "and now I have one more in the morning." But what surprised him most weren't the numbers. It was that he no longer needed the elevator at the town hall. The stairs were no longer a problem, and his feet weren't cold in the mornings. "It sounds silly," he told his son-in-law, "but I feel like the blood is reaching where it needs to go." This case is an illustrative example based on patterns observed in research. Individual results may vary. Black coffee without sugar is not medicine. It's not a cure. It's a daily habit that, according to accumulated evidence from studies with millions of participants, is associated with significant cardiovascular protection. However, it works in synergy with other factors. Walking 30 minutes a day, sleeping 7 hours, maintaining a healthy weight, and reducing added sugar in your overall diet. If you want to do it optimally, according to research, here is the protocol. Quantity: 2 to 3 cups a day, providing between 200 and 300 milligrams of caffeine. The maximum cardiovascular benefit is observed in this range. Timing: In the morning, before noon, a 2025 study with over 40,000 adults indicates that morning coffee provides 31% more cardiovascular protection than consumption spread throughout the day due to its alignment with the circadian rhythm. Preparation. Filtered coffee is preferable to boiled coffee, as the filter retains diterpenes that can slightly raise cholesterol. No sugar, no sweeteners. If the transition is difficult, gradually reduce from 2 teaspoons to 1, then to half, then to none. Your palate will adapt within 2 weeks. And with water, drink a glass of water along with each coffee to maintain hydration and facilitate polyphenol absorption. Today, you discovered that your cup of coffee isn't your enemy. It's the sugar you add that sabotages your circulation every morning. You saw how chlorogenic acid in black coffee activates nitric oxide production in your arteries, while sugar causes glycation that hardens them. And you learned the exact protocol: 2 to 3 cups of filtered coffee in the morning without sugar. Imagine what can happen. In 7 days, your palate will have adapted and black coffee will taste better than before. In 30 days, your endothelial function will be measurably improving. In 90 days, your body will have significantly reduced age production, and your blood vessels will be more flexible, more protected, and more functional. And in a year, you'll be in that group of men whose circulation defies their age. You don't need expensive supplements. You don't need a radical diet. You need to correctly do something you already do every morning. That is the power of this change. And if you know someone, your brother, your father, your coworker, who puts 2 spoonfuls of sugar in their coffee every morning without knowing what it does to their circulation, share this video with them. They need to know this. You've spent your life taking care of everyone else. Now it's time to take care of yourself. Until next time, I'm Carmen Navarro. Stay informed, stay vital. Your best years are not behind you. They can start now. Important note: this video is for informational and educational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice. The research cited reflects findings from studies published in peer-reviewed scientific journals, but individual results may vary. If you have pre-existing cardiovascular conditions, are taking blood pressure medication, or have concerns about your caffeine intake, always consult your doctor before making any dietary changes.